Hey there, everybody. Good to be back with you here at the table. As I'd like to say, always happy to connect with you, and never a shortage of things for us to look at in spirit, right? If you are just landing here and you're not familiar with me, I'm Afefe with Touch by Tarot and Beyond. I'm a former journalist, but I'm a tarot and oracle reader, and I'm an initiated priestess in both West African and Wiccan traditions. So I got a little bit of a mixed bag. I try to use all of that to come here and give you all some good content. And I appreciate your participation. Really appreciate the membership as well. I don't mention that as often perhaps as I should. And for some of you have been with me for a very long time, and I can't tell you how much that is it just matters. It really does matter. And I always see you, always see you. And at the very least, I love when you all comment, when you hype, just all forms of support, just your prayers for all of our collective well being during this time. All of that is returned to you tenfold, okay? I really appreciate it. Not going to get into this, but that little correspondence, that version two of a correspondence dinner in DC Friday was quite interesting. Very interesting to see. What's her name? Kristen Welker. And she was NBC, the one who scored that exclusive, so-called exclusive sit down with Trump. But she's over there kikiing with Stephen Miller, of all people. Hee hee ha ha. A lot of blowback for journalists who some put in that position realizing that they had to go through it just because you got to be in the rooms, right? To stay in touch and do what you got to do. Caitlin Collins, like, she's holding it down in her own way. I've got some respect for her. CNN, some question marks, but she's one of them that seems to be she's doing what she needs to do. But that leads me to today, part one of two readings that I'm going to do today. Katie Fang's lawsuit against Todd Blanche and the Department of Justice. Many of you I know are already familiar with this, but just in case you aren't, so Katie Fang was one of the slew of people when MSNBC was going through its redo to become MS Now. Katie Fang was one of the journalists that got cut. It was messed up. Joyanne Reed and some others, like it was Alex Wagner. It was messed up. The whole situation was messed up. All right, but Katie, talk about a rebound. Katie linked up with Ben and his crew over at Midas Touch, and my girl has been on it. And so in April, she filed a lawsuit. She got counsel, retained counsel, and filed a lawsuit based on the Epstein Transparency Act, because those files, as we know, are still out there, the ones that have been redacted, the ones that have never been produced, and this is in violation of the Transparency Act. All right. Well, lo and behold, the judge in that case came out with an order and gave Todd Blanche until this Thursday, July 30th, to produce unredacted files to prove whether or not the redactions were him and the DOJ hiding, guess whose name, probably primarily from, or others, hiding names, or whether this was done, as they said, to protect the innocent or protect victims, right? So in-camera review means the judge in that case, black judge, senior judge, initially appointed by Reagan way back in the day. The man is, his name is Emmett Sullivan. He's 79 years old, so he's old school, right? Graduated from Howard Law School. He's DC resident, DC in his blood, born and bred. Okay. So he came out with this order and said, Todd Blanche and the DOJ, you've got until this Thursday, the 30th, to submit those files to me, unredacted, for private in-camera review. And we're going to go to spirit and see number one, because, this administration is at the point where they just ignore the courts, right? They just bowl over the courts do what they say. Want to take a look and see if he's going to comply, because also keeping in mind, you all, what's up with Todd Blanche right now? His confirmation to Attorney General is still in limbo, right? He had the confirmation hearings on July 15th and 16th, I think it was, but it's still in limbo. And they said, were it not for this and that slush fund, that $1.776 billion slush fund for the Jan 6 people, they said if it wasn't for that, He could have probably sailed through confirmation, but he didn't. Spirit, will Todd Blanche comply with Judge Sullivan's order to produce those unredacted Epstein files by the end of this week, by July 30th? Will he comply? Will he submit those files? Knight of Cups, he's going to pretend to or try and delay. Three of Pentacles, exactly. He's going to try and delay and say, give us a little more time. We're trying to compile them or, something. He's going to try and get a delay from that July 30th deadline. Will he comply? Five of Pentacles, I knew it. And we knew it, right? No surprises there. He's not going to comply. He's going to, that's can't find them, certain things been misplaced, all of a sudden, there's a problem, etc., etc. So they're not going to comply with the order, which leads me to the other question. So then Judge Sullivan he can enact fines, and he can also demand then, okay, instead of in camera, instead of private, letting me review them privately, now I'm going to up the ante and demand a public release of the files. Spirit, will Judge Sullivan, what is Judge Sullivan going to do? Because we're seeing they're not going to comply. What is Judge Sullivan, what will he do? Two of Pentacles, Wheel of Fortune, and the Six of Wands. He's going to fight him. The Wheel of Fortune feels like there's a progressive cycle of time ruled by Jupiter, growing fines. Two of Pentacles, I think that's money. So he is going to fine and sanction the DOJ and Todd Blanche. Six of Wands, though, is ultimately, he's not going to let this go. Judge Sullivan is not going to let this go. Spirit, is he going to demand a public release then of those files? Four Swords and the Hangman. Not right away. And the Nine of Cups. Not right away. This feels like timing, like maybe around September he will. But the Hangman says, because remember we saw that delay from Blanche and company. That's been their modus operandi all along with all cases filed against the DOJ. Delay, delay, delay. File a motion, file a motion, file a motion. But so he's going to delay. But Judge Sullivan is around September. Something's going to switch with this. And he's going to demand the public release of the files. Now, once he does that and Blanche refuses, here's what I'm wondering. Perhaps even, not more importantly, the public, we need to see the files. The public deserves to see the files. But keeping in mind what I'm getting from the guides is hanging in the balance with all of this controversy, you all, is Blanche wants his nomination confirmed to Attorney General. Spirit, will this delay over the Epstein files and Sullivan continuing to push it, will this impact Blanche's confirmation? Is this going to impact his confirmation? Page of Swords and Justice. This is going to impact his this is one more nail in the coffin. Spirit, will Todd Blanche be confirmed? Will he be confirmed? Four of Wands, Nine of Wands, and the Empress. Queen of Pentacles and Ace of Cups. I think he is. And I think this is, who was it that was holding out against him? Was it Murkowski? Lisa Murkowski? Four of Wands is completion and also celebration. And it's a marriage. In many readings, it would indicate a marriage, a commitment, a pact. Attorney General. Nine of Wands is the push to get him through, to get him across the finish line. And the Empress feels like there's somebody, I get the Empress followed by the Queen of Pentacles. So this is somebody who helps him, pushes him over the finish line. Ace of Cups. Spirit, is this Lisa Murkowski? Is this somebody in the GOP, in the Senate, that switches over to support him? Two of Wands. And the King of Cups. And the Tower. Yep. But this is interesting because the Tower, I think, is showing it's not going to last. This administration is going to crumble. We've seen it, and I know we're all frustrated, like, come on, Spirit, like, come on already, right? But at the end of the day, it's showing that his, in a weird way, maybe not so weird, but this confirmation, King of Cups is, this feels like John Thune, somebody high up in the Senate who pushes Murkowski to get him over the edge. That's that Two of Wands that we're seeing. I think this is John Thune or somebody high up in the Senate going to Murkowski. I'm assuming it's her. And basically pushing her because there is no other replacement. Trump is fixated on it has to be Todd Blanche or nobody. There's nobody else in line. Thune doesn't want the headache. So they're gonna put pressure on Murkowski to go ahead and get Blanche across the line. But that Tower card is also showing there's something about doing this, the disgust that will be felt even among many in the GOP who won't dare say it out loud, but the disgust that this man has actually been appointed or been approved and confirmed as Attorney General speeds up the Tower coming down. You know, things just absolutely, and the Ten of Swords confirmed, right? This is how do we even continue to pretend that we have a functioning Congress if this, despite the slush fund, despite the Epstein files, despite the clear knowing among everybody, I'm Trump's lawyer. I'm not here to do a service to the United States. I'm Trump's lawyer, right? For entertainment purposes only. Gotta say it. So in a weird way, I'm getting that if this happens, and it looks like it will, his confirmation, his ultimate confirmation, the court, Sullivan, is going to continue to push, but the fact that he becomes Attorney General is going to slow things down even more. That's why we saw that hangman. But there are sanctions that will continue to get filed and perhaps financial fines as well. And that's not going to look good. They got to find somewhere to come up with that money and or continue to let it accrue, which again is another mark against him. Tower moment, bringing eventually his downfall. Eventually his downfall, you all. All right. Second thing I want to look at today is the next Tuesday, a week from tomorrow. Huge stakes are so high in the Michigan Senate primary. All right. Many of us have been reading about Abdul El-Sayed running against a progressive candidate, running against Haley Stevens, the so-called moderate, who we understand that AIPAC or AIPAC affiliated super PACs have poured record-breaking sums into this Senate race to try and get Haley Stevens over the line. And then Gretchen Whitmer comes out in favor of Haley Stevens. You know, but it's just yet another example of these establishment Dems who have clearly they look at the money. We remember those images of Gretchen Whitmer in the Oval with the blue folder over her face because she was there trying to work a deal, but she also knew it wasn't good optics for her to be there with Trump. You all remember that? So Gretchen, I've had a couple of question marks around her for a while. I was really excited about her for a minute as well, but So Gretchen went with Gretchen, of course, Chuck Schumer and the establishment. They're trying to push Haley Stevens over $50 million and counting that we understand these super PACs, AIPAC, because Haley Stevens is not just pro-Israel, but specifically pro-weapons to Israel. All right. And Abdul El Said is telling it like it is, right? AOC is behind him, Bernie Sanders is behind him, Elizabeth Warren has come out and endorsed him. So next week is the primary. I want to take a look for you all and see, Spirit, will Abdul El Said, will he come out victorious over Haley Stevens? Will he win the Democratic primary for Senate out of the state of Michigan? This is huge, y'all. This is huge. And they're doing everything they can to stop it. Outside of, many of the swing states, we're going to see a lot more focus of what happens in Georgia, but Michigan, this is a big, in terms of mobilizing voters for the midterms. Like, you've got to see a win. But let's see. Spirit, will El Said win? Will he be victorious over Haley Stevens? Will Abdul El Said win over Haley Stevens in the Michigan Senate primary race next week? Will he win? Six of Swords, Nine of Pentacles, and the Ten of Swords, and the Wheel of Fortune, and the Two of Pentacles. Spirit, give me a clear. Ooh, it's trying to come. Nine of Swords, Temperance. This is showing, it feels like it's going to be extremely close. Five of Wands. Are they going to contest like something happened? He comes out the winner, but they're going to, Haley Stevens' camp is going to contest that something happened. Five of Swords. Arguments about it. King of Swords. Somebody comes out. This might be El Said. And the Eight of Wands. I think he's going to win, but this King of Swords and Eight of Wands I see as El Said winning, but there's a lot of contention here, you all. There's a Five of Swords, there's a Five of Wands, like there's some and then the Six of Swords looks like there may even be some, we need to look closer at it. Spirit, are you showing me that it's going to be a close race, and that's going to give them justification to try and delay? Seven of Pentacles. Yep, that's an assessment. They're going to pretend, were the machines, were the voting machines done? Were their mail-in ballots sent on time? Queen of Pentacles, that's Haley Stevens. And the Six of Cups, a review. Haley Stevens is not going to go down without a fight, you all. If this is at all close, I'm getting from Spirit with that Two of Pentacles. If the race next week comes down to within 2 percentage points or somewhere in that span, then they're going to start to put out some information, that Five of Swords, and that Five of Wands, that there might have been some hanky panky, but ultimately, Spirit, please show me something definitive. Will El Said come out of this victorious? Death, transformation, that's not a bad thing. Nine of Wands, a fight for it. And the Empress. For the people, on behalf of the people. Eight of Swords. And the Three of Swords. This is the establishment that comes away heartbroken. The Lovers. The choices. And this is also I was thinking establishment in terms of APAC, like GOP establishment. This is the Democratic establishment that realizes we're in deep trouble, because if this man, who we did not want, and there's the Eight of Pentacles this is the growth of the progressive movement, you all. And the Judgment. Yes, this is going to send Democratic establishment truly into a tailspin. I think that's why I got that Lovers, Three of Swords. Like, oh my gosh, our girl didn't make it. Haley, because they're lining up behind Haley Stevens. The Eight of Swords. What do we do now? The Empress. That's not Haley Stevens, and that's not Gretchen. That's somebody bigger on the stage, on the political stage in DC, that is somehow going to have to come out. Ooh, is this Kamala Harris having to? Because I always would get the Empress for her. Is this Kamala Harris coming out in the wake of this race, the Michigan race, embodying the progressive movement? King of Cups, that's and the Emperor. That's Bernie Sanders. King of Cups and the Emperor, leadership, and the Two of Swords. Somehow I think we're going to see perhaps that Empress energy, that when El Said wins this battle, and I believe he will, based on these cards. So today, it ain't going to be easy. It ain't going to be pretty. Unless something between now and then changes drastically, right? And we know these energies can, especially with everything we got going on astrologically right now. But I think on the tail end of that, because Kamala Harris is out there, you all, for good, bad, or otherwise, whether you're in support of that or thinking, Kamala, it's time to move over and make room for someone else. Whatever your stance is, she is a voice, and she is, she can move some needles. And I think there's something where when we're talking about the DNC at large, Ken Martin, man, you got old heads out there like Donna Brazil and others saying, oh, you need to cut him some slack. It's a really tough job. Yeah, you knew it was going to be a tough job when you went for it, right? As head of the DNC. The DNC is apparently broke, in debt. Ken Martin's doing nothing to move the needle, totally messed everything up with that so-called 24 autopsy report around Kamala Harris. And I think that's why we're seeing her energy in that reading, because Kamala's on the back end of all of this saying, if I am going to make a move in 2028, the DNC, I need some things happening with the DNC, recognizing you can no longer be that same party. Just like I got to change, you can't be that same party. All right? All right, y'all. I hope you are well. I hope you stay grounded. I hope you stay focused. I hope you stay energized. I hope you continue to love your families. Let yourself be loved. And remember to keep your chins up and your shoulders back, right? Come from your heart. Always. Check in with your heart. Check in with your breathing. Stay calm. We're going to get through it, right? We had no choice. We're here. What are we going to do? Stop? No. Right? Sky above us always, right? And the ground beneath us, keeping us solid. And I'm probably going to go back to my Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule, you all. I may still do some Tuesday lives. I've got a lot of events with family and things happening in the coming weeks, so I don't want to launch it right now. But it's in the wind. But I think I'm gonna switch up and go back to my 3-day a week schedule. So may not see you tomorrow, but I'll check in with you for sure by Wednesday, okay? I appreciate you. And I'll talk to you a little bit later. Bye.